boys, I am happy to say that I finally got my first top 200 finish on my own account. As you can see, I managed to finish 129th global. Now you will notice that I encountered a bit of a glitch because if you look here on my profile, it says that I finished the season with 6,628 trophies, but if you look on the leaderboard, it says I finished with 6,656 trophies. Now the reason for this is actually because I started the game before the season ended and I finished the game after the season ended, and I lost that game. But because I lost the game, it says on my profile that I lost those trophies, but on the leaderboard it says I actually won the trophies because I lost it after the season, so it didn't technically count, but it's still a weird glitch that did that. And actually a couple seasons ago, a guy named Ruben, he actually won a game after the season, and it said that he had the highest trophies even though he didn't win the season, so it's just kind of a weird glitch, but kind of funny, kind of cool. And yeah, so this is the deck that I use. As you can see, I don't have 3 of my cards maxed, and it doesn't make like a huge difference. Most of the games are winnable, but there are a couple of games that come down to like 300 HP. Actually, quite a few games that I lost that I would have won if I just had my max cards. So unfortunate. Really, the only main interaction is that level 13 skeletons can really easily counter my graveyard, and so it's harder versus 2.9 hog cycle. And then the other interaction is that Valkyrie in combination with Tornado takes 1 more shot to kill 3 musketeers. So if I were to pull 3 musketeers to 1 lane, it's going to take my Valkyrie 1 extra shot to kill the 3 musketeers because my Tornado is not maxed out. But other than that, really, the level 7 freeze doesn't make that much of a difference. And I maybe could have potentially pushed higher, but I've had so many times where I've been top 200. I just wanted to stay in that top 200 position, just get a top 200 finish on my account, and I'm happy with my finish, really. So let's, I guess, just hop into the games and go over some of my replays against some of the hardest matchups. So starting off this game, this guy goes with Battle Ram at the bridge, which is an interesting play by him, versus 3 musketeers. I'm never going to make the first move. Obviously on ladder you know what decks your opponent are using because it shows on their profile and you face up against like the same people. So I knew this guy had 3 musketeers, so I was waiting for his move, and I just decided to go with Tombstone because I'm up in Elixir. He goes Giant, and one important thing versus Giant that I always like to do is go opposite lane with my graveyard. If he were to go 3 musketeers here, I would just be able to get poison value on them, and really the goal is that he doesn't go 3 musketeers, and as you can see, he didn't go 3 musketeers. I'm just playing this really passive. I play my Ice Wizard. I know that Battle Ram is going to kill it. I'm really trying to defend this push for as little elixir as possible. Here I'm thinking I can pull the Giant to my King Tower, but actually it looks like this guy does go Bats behind the Giant, so I decided to pull it backwards. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of tower damage in this matchup. It's all about defending for as little elixir as possible and getting the elixir advantage, and I'm also willing to stack Tombstones in advance. So here he does go Pump behind his tower. I actually should have placed a graveyard 1 more tile to the right, but it doesn't end up mattering that much, just so that I don't accidentally activate the King Tower. In the 3 Musketeers matchup, if they ever pump behind the King Tower, I always graveyard freeze on that side, or a graveyard poison. If they pump in the middle, then you don't really want a graveyard, you just want to stack up troops in the back and wait for their move, or you just want to poison the pump if you have poison in hand. So he goes Giant in the back, and I just use my my graveyard, so obviously I can't go graveyard opposite lane. Instead, I cycle Valkyrie first, and this is important. I'm cycling Valkyrie first because either I'm going to poison the 3 Musketeers, or I'm going to be able to cycle to another Valkyrie to defend his 3 Musketeers. But instead, he gets that off. He does go Bats behind his Battle Ram, which actually gives me a very easy Tornado. It almost connects to my tower, but even if it connected, I still wouldn't have defended it. I'm just trying to defend for as little elixir as possible. I'm waiting for his play. I was hoping he didn't split 3 Musketeers. He did split 3 Musketeers, and I take the freeze just because he split. He should have split 2 Musketeers towards the graveyard side, but he split 1 towards the graveyard side, so it gave me an advantage, I guess. And obviously I went with graveyard because I was going opposite lane of his Giant, so he can't get a huge Giant push. Here I get a really valuable Tornado. I make sure to kill his 3 Musketeers with my Valkyrie, and at this point the game is basically over. I just have to get 1 more graveyard off. He splits 3 Musketeers. I make sure to freeze, and that is GG. So really, it was the most important thing there was just that as soon as he went giant in the back, either I poisoned his pump or I punished them with graveyard if they were in the back. And then when he went giant in the back, I would go opposite lane with my graveyard. So this next matchup is against, this is my third to last battle, this is against Leslie. And Leslie beat me earlier in the season because I actually had a bad starting hand, but I knew that I didn't want to make the first move against this deck, so I wait for his move, he goes Hog, and I just Tornado to the King Tower. And now I'm thinking I'm going to kind of play this passive until double Elixir, or until I have a nice counter push, because I cannot give him value on my graveyard, because if I give him value on my graveyard since he's using Hog Cycle, he's just going to be able to counter push. So I'm kind of playing it passive at first. I'm just going same lane as him. I'm spacing out my Mega Minion, my Ice Wizard, so that he does not give me too much poison value. Not poison value, so that I don't give him too much Fireball value. He does Fireball Zap that, and now I know that his Zap is out of cycle, so potentially I can go Graveyard Freeze here, and he will not have Zap to kill my Graveyard Skeletons, which is really important. So now I'm up in Elixir. I go Valkyrie all the way in the back, since I really don't have any other play there. I just go with Graveyard. I knew he was up in Elixir, and I do Freeze. Since he doesn't have Zap and Cycle, this is just going to get like a ton of damage on his tower, and since I was up in Elixir, he's not going to have a really good counter push on me. So that gets a huge amount of damage on his tower, and now I'm just kind of waiting for his move. I go Tombstone. I don't necessarily have to save Tombstone for Hog, because I also have Tornado to defend his Hog. He misses a Zap, but even if he had hit that Zap, the Lumberjack probably would only got one hit on the tower, so it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. Instead, I just go Ice Wizard in the back, and I'm just going to play it slow. I admit I do have counter on him in this matchup, but he's so good that I have to play it perfectly or I'll still lose anyway. So there, I'm up about 3 Elixir, and I was waiting to see what he did. I saw that as soon as he dropped that Inferno Dragon, I was willing to go with my Graveyard, because Inferno Dragon does nothing versus Graveyard. And I basically just defend for the rest of the game. I do go to defense and poison. I know that he's not going to take my tower with this Hog, so I'm willing to sacrifice 1 Hog hit just so that I don't like over defend and lose my tower. And here he's just getting aggressive. I mean, the game is basically over at this point, but I still have to play it safe. This actually almost gets through. If I hadn't froze, well, I could have tornadoed also, but that was a good freeze because I wanted to save my tornado for his Hog Rider. And yeah, I kind of won the game from the start there. He doesn't even do anything for the rest of the game, so that was GG. My next match here is up against P.E.K.K.A. Minor Poison, and this deck is actually pretty hard to beat. I lost to it multiple times during the season. Really, I actually lost my last game of the season that didn't count versus this deck, but I think it was just because I was going aggressive and trying to win before the season ended, and I ended up losing because I overcommitted. But yeah, versus this deck, I don't want to really play my graveyard until he plays his P.E.K.K.A. or if I have a counter push. As you can see, there I had a nice counter push. I knew that I was going to kill his bandit, so I was willing to go in with my graveyard, and honestly, it gets a ton of damage on his tower. And it was an interesting graveyard. I definitely wouldn't have gone to graveyard if I didn't have a counter push there. So I just defend with Mega Minion and Tombstone. He didn't really allow me to pull anything to the King Tower. I would have definitely pulled his Miner to the King Tower if he'd given me the opportunity. But here he goes with Royal Ghost. I think I might even... Yeah, but I was going to pull out my King Tower, but then I thought I could get Valkyrie value, but I actually messed up my Valkyrie. I played it like 1 second too late, so it didn't actually distract the Royal Ghost, which was probably like... I think that was the only misplay I had in this game, but it definitely wasn't a misplay. I should have either played my Valkyrie sooner, or I should have pulled the Royal Ghost to the King Tower. And here, I'm going with Graveyard because I knew that I was up in Elixir, and also I knew that it would probably just bait out his poison because he didn't have minions in cycle, and if he played anything else, I could have just froze and got a lot of value with the Graveyard Skeletons. Here I go with my Tombstone in the back. Versus this deck, what I like to do is I like to just stack a lot of Tombstones because in whatever lane he plays Miner in, because if you stack a lot of Tombstones, he cannot poison. He really has nothing to poison the Tombstones. Either he can waste a Miner on the Tombstone, or he can poison it, and then if he poisons it, then you can just go Graveyard Freeze and win the game, basically. So I'm just going to stack a lot of Tombstones. I'm going to keep going with my Graveyard Aggressive because I want him to be forced to poison it, and if he drops anything, I'm going to freeze. That way he can't poison my Tombstones, and I can just get like a ton of Tombstone value versus this Becca. As you see, I'm just completely denying this lane. I know that the only thing he has to stop the Tombstones is Zap, and then that doesn't even work to Tombstones. So really, it's just all about stacking Tombstones, playing defense until double Elixir, and then you can win the game. And I'm just getting a little bit of chip damage. I'm willing to go with my Poison. The double Elixir, you can go pretty aggressive, but in single Elixir, you have to kind of play it slow. You don't want to like Graveyard Freeze by itself. You only want to Graveyard if you have a counter push. As you can see, I'm just cycling back my Poison, and that's the end of the game. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, this next game is up against Logbait. Now, Logbait is like, it's a pretty hard counter to Graveyard because I do not have Log on my deck, and it's kind of winnable. It helps me that he has Inferno Tower versus like Tesla or something, but it is a bad matchup for me. And usually on ladder, people know your decks, and they'll try to, or good Logbait players, they'll always play their Goblin Barrel, like, if it's on the left side of the tower, they'll always play it in the top left corner so that Tornado can activate to the King Tower. So what I like to do versus Logbait is I'll always play my Valkyrie at the corner of the tower first play like I did there, and it usually will kill the goblins in one shot. So I'm just playing slow. He wasn't really doing anything, so I went in with a Graveyard. I didn't want to... Oh, I guess I do go with my Freeze. And it's maybe potentially an overcommitment, but I knew that we were kind of even on Elixir, so it wouldn't... Where I was up like 2 Elixir, so it wasn't that big of a deal to do a Graveyard in that scenario. And here he plays a really interesting Goblin Barrel. I actually thought that the Goblin Barrel was right on top of my Valkyrie. I thought I could defend it with... I thought I could defend both the Valkyrie and the Goblins with my Valkyrie, but he ends up getting a lot of damage from my tower, which is kind of unfortunate for me. And honestly, I knew that he was gonna play Princess there. I was actually like half a second off of pre-placing my Tombstone. I was gonna place it at low Elixir just so that his Princess wouldn't get damage on my tower, but it does get one shot off. Not a huge deal, but I almost predicted it. It was really close. And here, man, he's getting me. I have literally nothing to defend it. I'm overcommitting with my Freeze. You have to be really safe versus this deck. And yeah, what you want to do in an ideal scenario, it's hard to do. You want to defend until double Elixir. You just want to keep defending like the whole game. You don't really play Graveyard unless you have a huge Elixir advantage, or you wait for him to Rocket Cycle you, and then as soon as he starts Rocket Cycling you, then that's when you start going aggressive with your Graveyard. And here, I'm just trying to kill his Inferno Tower so that he doesn't have too many, he doesn't have Inferno Tower stack up. I was willing to sacrifice a little bit of damage on the right tower because he's going for my left tower. And then I poison his Princess. I'm just defending, waiting until I can get an Elixir advantage. Unfortunately, he's not really letting me get an Elixir advantage. And here he goes with Rocket. So now that he goes with Rocket, here's where I'm going to punish him with Mega Minion plus Graveyard. He really doesn't have anything from a Mega Minion other than, I guess, yeah, really, he doesn't have anything from a Mega Minion that can get a positive Elixir trade. So I'm always going to go with Mega Minion over Valkyrie in this matchup because he can pretty easily defend my Valkyrie with his own Valkyrie, but my Mega Minion would kill his Valkyrie. And now that I know he's trying to Rocket Cycle me, I'm starting to get pretty aggressive, but I do make sure to defend his Goblin Barrel. And I go with a Freeze. I'm just going really aggressive here because I know he only needs 2 more rockets to finish off my tower. And I do manage to get the tower, and that was game. So probably actually made a misplay early game by playing a Graveyard and single Elixir before a Rocket Cycled, but it didn't end up costing me the game, and that was GG. I am up against Golem. Now Golem is it's a hard matchup, but I usually win. It's also important just to go with Graveyard Freeze in the opposite lane of the Golem player, so that either he's forced to use his poison, or if he uses a troop to defend it, I will just freeze his troop, and then it'll kill his troop, and also the Graveyard Skeleton kill his troops so he doesn't have a counter push, and just forces him to not stack up a giant like Golem push. So he doesn't poison, he goes instead with Mega Minion, and I decided to freeze it anyway. I know that I can defend. The Tombstone can get a ton of value defending it, and since he had to log the Graveyard Skeletons, he doesn't have log for the Tombstone now. And I'm just waiting. I'm going to activate his King Tower at this point. I'm just waiting to make sure if he were to go like Cannon Cart the bridge or something, then I would have enough elixir to defend his Cannon Cart with my Valkyrie. So I do activate the King Tower, and now I have a good... This is a really good start of the game for me because I got a ton of damage on this tower, and I activated my King Tower. So I'm looking really, really good at this point. So I'm just going to stack up a Tombstone. I'm hoping he'll poison my Tombstone. If he poisons it, I can obviously go Graveyard Freeze and get tons of damage from my tower. And if he poisons my Graveyard, then my Tombstone's going to get a ton of value on his Golem. It's just really important to go opposite lane because if I let him stack up, I'm saying this a million times, but if I let him stack up a big push, then he is going to use poison on offense and annihilate my tower, and there's no way that I'm able to defend his push. So I'm just waiting. What I like to do versus Golem is I use Tombstone to defend the Golem, and then I won't play anything else until he drops a support troop. I use one of my cards to defend each of his support cards. So say he drops Cannon Cart, I drop Valkyrie. I would never, for example, drop a Valkyrie on top of the Golem. I'm always waiting for him to drop that Cannon Cart. Or I would never play Ice Wizard on top of the Golem. I'm always waiting for him to drop his Night Witch. Or I would never place Meg Minion on top of the Golem. I'm always waiting for him to drop his Baby Dragon, and then I'm going to get a +1 elixir trade, killing his Baby Dragon, his Night Witch, or his Cannon Cart with my troop. So there I go Graveyard opposite lane. He ignores the Graveyard, so he's definitely trying to tower trade at this point. I do go with Freeze to make sure that I kill everything that is on the field. And I go ahead and pull everything back, and here he's just trying to get me. I'm very low in elixir, so he actually almost won this game, but I managed to pull out the clutch defense and win the game. So honestly, I don't think I made like even one mistake this matchup. I pretty much played perfectly, so if you're wondering how to beat Golem, then there you go. That's how you win. So GG to Waterhand, and that's going to wrap up that match. Okay guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Tomorrow I'm going to come out with a part 2 that is going to have a bunch of other matchups against really good players that I definitely encourage you to watch because it just shows you the power of this deck and how to win with this deck versus every single matchup. You'll see that I have a different game plan depending on what deck I face, and tomorrow you'll see how I play it versus the other decks. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to tune in tomorrow, and Vulkan out.